The wine had barely touched the glass when she decided to blow everything up. We were sitting around her parents' dining table, a long stretch of polished mahogany, roast chicken going cold, fake smiles stretched tight across 4 faces. Her brother, James, barely looked up, too busy scrolling on his phone underneath the table. Her mom, Elaine, wore her usual, "I'm tolerating your existence" expression. Then came her voice, sharp, loud, and slicing straight through the useless small talk like a blade. "My lover sees me as a trophy. You? You treat me like I'm a burden. Just like that. No lead-in. No build-up." She stared straight at me, a smug little smirk curling on her lips. For a heartbeat, the whole room went completely still, like even the air decided to shut up. And then, they clapped. Elaine actually clapped. Her sister let out a giddy giggle. Even James chuckled like he'd just watched some sitcom punchline land. I didn't move. I couldn't. Her words were still echoing in my head, like a siren that wouldn't shut off. That smirk of hers didn't fade. If anything, it deepened, taunting me, daring me to lose control. But I didn't give her that satisfaction. Instead, I stood up, calm as a man in the eye of a storm. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the car keys, and placed them on the table like a man folding at a poker game. Then I added the house keys. That got their attention. The laughter died. The clapping stopped. I looked her square in the face and said, "Trophies go to winners. And all of you? You just lost." Then I walked out, leaving silence in my wake like a shadow dragging behind me. Back at the house, I didn't even make it to bed. I sat out in the driveway for hours, just staring at the garage door, hoping it held some kind of answer. I thought about the past year, how she started missing my calls, those so-called work trips, the sudden obsession with the gym, and the brand new lingerie I never saw. The signs were always there, weren't they? I just refused to put the puzzle together. But that night painted the truth in blood-red clarity. Every lie started looping in my head on repeat. "It's just a coworker. I'm tired. You're imagining things." No, she wasn't tired. She was busy playing house with another man while I worked my ass off and kept believing in her. Her name's Charlotte. We met back in college. She had this crazy laugh that made it feel like life wasn't so heavy all the time. I really thought I'd lucked out. But instead of marrying a partner, I hitched my life to a roulette wheel. And every spin brought a new lie. That night, I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. Told him I wanted everything documented. Freeze every joint account. Lock down every asset. I wasn't about to be some guy crying into a glass of whiskey while she partied in the home I paid for. You'd think betrayal would feel like a knife to the gut. But it doesn't. It feels like drowning, slow, silent, humiliating. You gasp for breath, scream into pillows, claw at the air, but nothing saves you. Because the one person you trusted most just shoved your head under the water. The next morning, I went back to the house. She was there, standing in the kitchen like nothing had happened, wearing one of my old t-shirts, sipping her coffee like she was innocent. "I didn't mean it like that," she mumbled. That syrupy voice she uses when she's trying to get out of a parking ticket or sweet-talk a salesman. "Don't talk," I said. "Just listen." She rolled her eyes, leaned back on the counter like we were about to chat over breakfast. "You're overreacting," she muttered. I didn't even flinch. Instead, I walked over to the drawer, pulled out a stack of printed screenshots, messages I found by accident last week when she forgot to log out of iCloud. I'd kept them buried. Back then, I wasn't ready to face the truth. But now? Now I was burning with it. She glanced at the pages and had the nerve to laugh. "You went through my phone?" "No," I said. "You let your iCloud sync to the house MacBook. Congrats, genius." That shut her up real quick. I laid out the pages like evidence in a trial. Messages like, "Last night was insane smiling face with horns." Or, "He still thinks I'm working late face with tears of joy." Bold font. Emojis. Names I didn't recognize. But one stood out, Charlie. I had a hunch that was the one she called lover. "Charlie." I asked, "Is that the guy who thinks you're a trophy?" She didn't respond. Just turned away and pretended to fuss with her coffee like I wasn't even there. And that right there? That was the exact moment everything between us died. Some things you don't come back from. So I walked out again. But this time, I didn't look back. Then came the kicker. 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was her dad. I thought maybe, just maybe, he was calling to be a man about it. But no. He actually said, "You embarrassed my daughter in front of the family." I almost laughed right then and there. That's when it hit me. They were all the same. Enablers. A snake pit with a fancy doormat. That's when I decided I was taking the house back, legally. And I did. Turned out, she never signed the updated prenup I'd asked her to look over last year. My lawyer? He didn't play nice. Cold. That's how he handled it. Cold as ice. Exactly the way I needed him to be. Now the house belongs to me. So does the silence that came with it. But silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes, it's just the calm before everything goes to hell. It started with the perfume. Charlotte never wore perfume. Said it gave her migraines, made her feel dizzy. But about 4 months before that dinner, she walked in smelling like one of those department store spritz cards. I didn't say anything the first time. Told myself it was nothing. Maybe a friend sprayed her. Maybe it was just in the air. You know how it goes. We feed ourselves lies we're desperate to believe. The second time, I asked. New perfume. She blinked, too quickly. Oh yeah, she said. Just some free samples from work. Work being a dental tech company, not exactly a high-end fragrance counter. And that was just the beginning. Her habits shifted. Charlotte was never one for heavy makeup, but suddenly her face looked airbrushed, billboard ready. She swapped yoga pants for heels. Started hitting the gym again, always at night. They've got this new women's class, she told me. I nodded. I wanted to believe her. But then came the real silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that tells you something's rotting just beneath the surface. We barely talked. Kisses turned into quick pecks. That wild laugh I fell for. Gone. She was always glued to her phone, chuckling at texts I didn't send. She angled the screen just enough so I couldn't see a thing. What I did next, I'm not proud of. But one night, she left her iPad unlocked. Same Apple account, same sync. And there it was. iMessages, synced clean onto the screen. Dozens of them. Photos. Even voice notes. One name stood out. Charlie Richardson. I clicked on it, and I swear, it felt like my chest collapsed. Still thinking about last night, smiling face with hard eyes. You're insane, smiling face with hard eyes. Don't wash the sheets yet, winking face, I want your sin on me tomorrow. I just froze. My hands shook like I'd stuck them in a wall socket. It felt like watching someone swing a sledgehammer into the life I'd built. Except they were smiling while they did it. She had brought him into our house. Our bed. This wasn't just cheating. It was deliberate. Calculated. Rehearsed. I sat there for hours, scrolling through months of garbage wrapped in digital affection. They even made fun of me sometimes. Called me clueless. Laughed about how easy it was to lie. She still thinks I'm stressed from work, faced with tears of joy. Might fake another fight tonight, so I can sneak out again. That one hit different. I remembered every single fight she started. The night she screamed that I didn't understand her. That was just a script. An excuse to go crawl into another man's bed. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even blink. Just sat there, eyes locked on that screen, hoping it might change. That maybe I'd imagine the whole thing. But no, it was real. And here's the part no one warns you about. Betrayal doesn't set off fireworks. It paralyzes you. You think you'll throw things, scream, break something. But instead, you go still. You observe. You start planning. I began watching her. Not like a creep, more like a private eye. I saved screenshots. Started recording calls with my lawyer. I was building my exit strategy, piece by piece. But I didn't delete the messages. No, I left them where they were. Because I wanted her to know that I knew. One day, I left the iPad on the kitchen counter, open to the chat with Charlie. Then I went out for a walk. When I came back, the iPad was gone. Not locked, factory reset. She didn't say a word about it. Neither did I. I was saving my words for the right moment. That dinner, when she stood there, grinning like she won something, while her family applauded her betrayal. She wanted me to lose it. Wanted to be the victim in her little drama. But I didn't give her that. I gave her silence. And that silence? It cut deeper than any shout ever could. Here's the thing about a moment you play over and over in your head. It never lands the way you imagined. I thought I'd corner her, toss the evidence in her face, watch her fall apart like the lies she spun. But Charlotte didn't break. She didn't even blink. 2 days after the dinner, I waited until I could look her in the eyes without feeling that rage rise up in my throat. She came home late, again. Hair done, heels dangling from her fingers, dress wrinkled in all the wrong places. She actually looked surprised to see me awake. Didn't expect you to still be up, she said, like we were just two roommates passing in the kitchen on a random Tuesday night. I didn't answer. Just laid the stack of printed messages on the counter, every page, every photo, every emoji-laced confession between her and Charlie. She looked at them for a second, then gave me this smug little smile, crooked, dismissive, like I just handed her a parking ticket. She picked one up, glanced over it like it was a damn receipt, and said, "Wow, you actually printed these." I just stared at her. "That's all you've got to say?" She shrugged. "I figured you'd find out sooner or later. You've been acting weird lately, snooping around like a puppy trying to dig up a bone. You cheated on me, Charlotte." She tilted her head, eyebrows raised, all fake innocence. "Did I?" she said, like I was the crazy one in the room. "Maybe if you paid attention for once, I wouldn't have had to look somewhere else." That one hit like a gut punch. After all those 12-hour days, busting my ass to keep the lights on, the mortgage paid, while she was off on her little retreats with Charlie. She let out a sigh. Not a guilty one, a bored one. "I'm not doing this right now. I'm tired." "Tired?" I snapped. "I haven't slept right in weeks, Charlotte. I've been living with a stranger who wears my ring and lies to my face every damn day." She brushed past me without a single tear, not a flicker of regret. "You're so dramatic," she muttered. I followed her down the hallway. "You slept with him. In our house." That stopped her. She turned, looked at me, and said flatly, "You weren't home." The silence between us then? It could have leveled the walls. "No apology?" I asked. "For what?" She fired back. "For finally feeling alive again?" She stepped in closer, eyes blazing. "Charlie makes me feel like a woman. You? You make me feel like a chore." That was it. That was her grand defense. "So that's it?" I asked. "You're just done? A decade together tossed out like spoiled leftovers?" She narrowed her eyes. "You threw it away first, when you stopped seeing me." And just like that, it all clicked. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't remorse. This was a battle, and she'd come prepared. Rehearsed speeches, cold delivery, and not 1 ounce of shame. She turned and marched into the bedroom. I heard the lock click behind her. I stood there in the hallway for a long time, just breathing. It's wild how fast love turns into something rotten. 1 week you're talking about anniversary trips. The next, you're looking at the woman you thought would be buried next to you one day, and wishing you'd never even met. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, she made coffee like nothing had happened. Even hummed a tune. She was wearing a new dress. Said she was meeting a friend. I didn't ask who. Didn't need to. I just smiled, slid the divorce papers across the counter, and said, "Sign these, and I won't destroy your reputation." She froze. Smile gone. "What is this?" she whispered. "Freedom," I told her. "For me, not for you. You think once you hand over the divorce papers, that's the finish line. That the damage has been counted. The war's over. You just clean your wounds and move forward. But no one warns you about the silence that comes after. It clings to you. Follows you like smoke from a house fire. You sit on your couch, in a living room that still smells like her perfume. The wind knocks over a picture frame and for a second, you expect her voice. But there's nothing. And that's when the weight of it all finally crashes down. It wasn't just the affair that broke me. It was realizing she had already left long before she packed a single bag. And me? I was too blind, too damn hopeful, or maybe just too much of a coward to see it. Every fake smile. Every empty, "I love you." Every forced apology. They weren't temporary. They were rehearsals. Practicing for her exit. I drank too much that first week. Cheap whiskey, like I was punishing myself for being stupid. Some nights, I'd pass out on the floor still wearing yesterday's shirt, dreaming about arguments we never had. Arguments where I actually said what I needed to say. Arguments where I came out on top. But real life doesn't work like that. There's no winning, only surviving. Betrayal rewires your brain. Every ping on your phone feels like another bomb about to go off. Every couple holding hands on the street makes your stomach turn. You stop trusting things. Even love starts to feel like a scam you fell for. And then the self-doubt kicks in. You start blaming yourself. Was I boring? Too focused on work? Too predictable? You replay every moment, every sentence, trying to pinpoint where it all started to fall apart. But deep down, I already knew. I didn't miss the signs. I just didn't want to see them. Funny thing about love, it'll turn red flags into white ones if you stare at him long enough. I remember one night, I was parked outside a gas station. Truck off. Just sitting there, staring at nothing, thinking about everything. Then my phone buzzed. A text from James, her brother. "You didn't deserve what she did." Just saying. I stared at that message for a solid 5 minutes. Not because I didn't know what to reply, but because it was the first damn time someone from her side even hinted at the truth. That maybe I wasn't crazy. A few minutes later, he followed up. "She told us you cheated first. That's why we clapped." That one, that broke something in me. She didn't just betray me. She rewrote the story ahead of time. Built a damn defense before the attack. Fed her family lies so they'd cheer her on while she blew up our life. She didn't want understanding. She wanted applause. And she got it. That's when the grief stopped. It hardened, turned into something sharper. Rage. And let me tell you, rage is easier. It's cleaner. It gives you direction. Something to hold on to when everything else slips. So I started piecing my life back together. Not for her. Because of her. Changed the locks. Sold the bed. Repainted the entire bedroom from top to bottom. Bought a dog. Took 2 weeks off work and drove straight to Texas, just to watch the desert catch fire at sunrise. And you know what? It helped. Not all at once, but enough. It didn't erase the pain, but it reminded me I was still in there somewhere. Still breathing. Still me. Eventually, that silence I used to hate, I started craving it. No more walking on eggshells. No more fake apologies. No more pretending everything was fine when it damn well wasn't. Just me. And that silence? It started sounding a whole lot like freedom. After betrayal, you hit a fork in the road. One path is fire. Burn it all down, spiral out, sleep with strangers, scream into the sky like it owes you closure. The other road? It's slower, quieter, and 10 times harder. I picked the second one. Not because I'm some kind of saint. Not because I'm better than her. But because I wasn't about to let Charlotte's lies be the last thing said about me. The divorce was rough. She tried to play the victim right there in front of the lawyers. Said I was emotionally distant. Dropped words like neglect and narcissist like she'd read them in a blog post. Every sentence that came out of her mouth sounded like an audition tape. She really believed she was the star of her own sob story. But I came with receipts, screenshots, messages, dates, hotel confirmations. And the final nail? A bird scooter charge she forgot to delete. It showed she rode from our house to Charlie's place at 11 p.m. on a night she swore she was at a dental conference in Jersey. My lawyer tore her apart like junk mail. By the end of it, I kept the house, the truck, half the savings. She got her car and a few pieces of furniture. Her smug little smirk didn't survive that day. I'll never forget the way she looked walking out of that courthouse. Makeup cracked, skin pale. Cheap sunglasses hiding whatever mess was brewing underneath. That was the last time I saw her in person. But Charlotte wasn't finished. Not really. 2 weeks later, she was back online like nothing ever happened. Beach pics, yoga poses, captions about healing and energy and damn cherry blossoms. The kind of fake peace people post when they're drowning but too proud to admit it. Charlie vanished from her feed. My guess? He bailed. She stopped being the exciting secret and turned into the full-blown drama. He didn't sign up for that. And it wasn't just what she did that hurt. It was what she became. And I had to figure out who I was going to be after all this. One night, I sat out on the porch, dog curled up at my feet, beer in hand, and asked myself the one question I'd been avoiding. Now what? The rage had burned itself out. The grief had settled. What was left was choice. So I started rebuilding. First step? Therapy. Didn't want to. Thought it was a waste of time. But one session in, I realized I hadn't spoken honestly to anyone in years. Not even to myself. The therapist didn't say much, just enough to help me start unpacking all the weight I'd been dragging behind me. Turns out, I wasn't just mad at her. I was mad at me. For staying. For trusting. For loving a woman who looked me in the eye while planning her escape. But with every session, the fog started to clear. I began working out again, not to get revenge. To get my head right. Stopped checking her Instagram. Blocked her number. And one night, I deleted the folder. All the screenshots. The texts. The voice notes. The photos. I didn't need proof anymore. I had the truth. I didn't need to keep drinking the poison, because I finally understood something. Closure doesn't come from getting them to admit they were wrong. It comes from you deciding it's over. And that decision? That was mine to make. Healing's a quiet thing. There's no celebration when you finally stop waking up and checking your phone for new wounds. No medal when you walk past her favorite coffee shop and your chest stays still. No applause when her name stops feeling like a curse. It just happens, slowly, silently, one breath, one day at a time. When I look back now, I hardly recognize the man I was when Charlotte walked out. That guy? He was shattered glass trying to pass for a window. I played the role of the ideal husband, showed up, stayed loyal, kept the lights on, fixed the faucet, never forgot an anniversary. Thought that was enough. But when you're with someone who thrives on chaos, your calm becomes the enemy. Your consistency becomes the target. Charlotte wasn't just dishonest, she was a performer, a master manipulator, the kind of woman who could cry on command, make anyone feel sorry for her, then laugh about it with her lover 10 minutes later. I didn't see it at first. Love can blur your vision, make you miss the blade in her hand, especially when she's hiding it behind her back. That family dinner? That was the breaking point. When she looked me in the eye and said, "My lover sees me as a trophy. You see me as a problem." And her family clapped, like they were watching the final episode of a trashy reality show. That moment shattered something inside me. But in a strange way, it also set me free. I realized I wasn't losing anything. I was getting out. Escaping. You know what came after the divorce was finalized? Peace. The real kind. Not the kind where you fake a smile while quietly sinking. The kind where silence doesn't hurt anymore. Where sitting with yourself feels like enough. I got back to old hobbies. Good ones. Started reading again. Picked up woodworking. Built a bench for the backyard. Was it perfect? Not even close. But then again, neither am I. And that's finally okay. I even started dating again slowly, cautiously. No games. No masks. Just honest talk and open eyes. And here's what I've learned. 1. Love shouldn't feel like a war zone. If you're constantly walking on glass, apologizing for things you never did, chasing validation just to feel human, that's not love. That's survival mode. 2. Loyalty means nothing to someone who doesn't value it. I gave Charlotte everything. She drained it, used it up, then blamed me for not being fun anymore. You can't make someone cherish your heart when all they want is a thrill. 3. The truth always shows up. Might take time. Might not be today. But lies don't age well. They leak. They rot. And in her case, they came out through Uber receipts and iCloud threats. 4. You always know when you're suffering, even if nobody else sees it, especially your partner. Staying in the name of love when that love is breaking you? That's not bravery. That's self-destruction. If I could talk to my old self, I'd tell him this. She didn't destroy you. She exposed herself. And in a weird, painful way, that's a gift. If you're reading this and walking through your own version of heartbreak, here's what I want you to hear. Don't chase closure from the person who wrecked you. Don't wait for them to apologize, to explain, to feel guilty. You're not too boring. Not too soft. Not too much. You were simply too real for someone addicted to fiction. And that silence they left behind? Make it yours. Let it become the voice that reminds you. You made it. You survived. Now it's your turn to live. The worst memories. They don't knock. They don't wait for an invite. They just barge in loud, ugly, cruel. A few weeks after the papers were signed, I was wandering through a flea market. Didn't need anything, just needed to move, breathe, distract. And that's when I saw it. A vintage record player. Same model Charlotte and I bought in our second year together. The memory hit like a sucker punch. I remembered how we raced home like kids, rummaged through old vinyl, played Sam Cooke, and danced barefoot in the kitchen. She laughed that night. That real kind of laugh. Head back, hands in mine. Like she'd never let go. And that's the cruel part about betrayal. It's not just the lies. Not even the sex. It's that some of it was real. You don't fake joy like that. You don't fake hundreds of tiny moments that built a life. Which means she chose to destroy it, piece by piece, lie by lie. After the flea market, I drove to an old hiking trail I used to visit back when life was simpler. Stood on the edge of a cliff, wind whipping through my jacket. And I screamed. Not words. Just everything. All the pain I buried. The fury. The shame. The heartbreak of watching someone I love become a stranger. One who carried my secrets in her pocket and gave her body to someone else. And I swear, part of me stayed in that scream. When I got home, I started digging through the last of the boxes she left behind. Old sweaters. Birthday cards. Her favorite scarf. I should have just tossed it all in the trash. But instead, I built a fire in the backyard. One by one, I fed the flames. The photos were the hardest. Us at the beach. Her in my hoodie. Me holding her hand at someone else's wedding. Eyes full of love that, looking back now, feels almost cruel. When that last photo curled up into ash, I just sat there in the grass, watching the smoke drift into the sky. And that's when it hit me. I didn't want revenge anymore. She wasn't worth the part of me that would carry that kind of weight. Let her build her life out of filters and half-truths. Let her chase excitement and men who only see her as a weekend thrill. That's not my burden anymore. I started focusing on the people who stayed. My sister, who called every night without fail. My buddy George, who showed up with pizza and beers and never asked for details. Even James, her brother, who later admitted he felt ashamed for clapping at that dinner. Because when the chaos clears, you figure out real quick who's in your corner. Betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It filters your life down to the ones who matter. And somehow, that's a gift. I started writing again. Not for work. Just for me. Raw thoughts. Unfiltered. I wrote about love. Loss. Survival. I wrote about Charlotte. Not as a person, but as a lesson. A warning. A scar I earned and learned from. And with every word, I bled a little less. Healing doesn't have a deadline. It's not a finish line you cross. It's 1,000 quiet decisions. To get up. To breathe. To believe that your story isn't finished. That was the real turning point. The day I stopped being her ex-husband and started becoming myself again. 6 months. That's how long it's been since the cold left my life for good. And I'm still here. More than here. I'm living. And living? That means something different now. It used to mean working nonstop. Being the reliable guy. Providing for everyone else. Now it means waking up with no weight on my chest. Laughing without second-guessing. Taking care of myself like I actually matter. The house is quiet these days. But not empty. The silence that once felt like punishment? Now it feels earned. It's peace. It's clarity. It's the sound of a man who finally knows who the hell he is. People ask if I miss her. I don't. What I miss are the lies I believed. The story I clung to. The fantasy I built about who we were. I miss the version of her I made up in my head. That woman? She's been gone a long time. The real Charlotte? She was never mine. I bumped into her once, randomly, at a grocery store. She saw me first. I could tell by the way she froze. Hand halfway to a bottle of wine. She looked different. Tired. Like whatever fire she went chasing had burned her, too. She muttered. Hey. I gave her a nod. That's it. Then she said something I'll never forget. You really moved on, huh? It wasn't a question. It was regret. Confusion. Maybe even envy. I smiled. Yeah. Best thing I ever did. And I meant it. She didn't ask about the house. Or the dog. Or my life. She didn't get to. She didn't have the right. I didn't ask about her, either. No stories. No small talk. No sympathy. I just walked away. No drama. No fireworks. Just a man walking out of the frozen food aisle. Finally free from the weight he never should have been carrying. Since then, I've said goodbye in a dozen small ways. Changed the curtains in the bedroom she once decorated. Got a new mattress. Took that desert road trip I'd put off for years. Even started seeing someone. Nothing serious yet. Just enough to remind myself that not all love ends in flames.